Ricardo Rodríguez was a rising star, a young prodigy who believed speed was the only language worth speaking. On October 26, 1962, he arrived at Watkins Glen in the United States, ready to prove himself among legendary racers. The track was unforgiving with cold asphalt that seemed to reject every tire that touched it. Ricardo pushed his car to its limit during qualifying, fueled by adrenaline and ambition. As he approached a sharp curve, the machine twitched like a wild beast trying to break free. The tires lost grip in a terrifying instant, and the car catapulted toward the barrier. Sparks exploded across the track as metal and asphalt screamed together. His vehicle slammed into the wall with a force no one could survive. The impact shattered not only the car but every future dream he carried. Marshals ran, but silence told them there was no miracle waiting tonight. Ricardo was gone before anyone could even call his name. The crowd stood motionless, realizing they had witnessed talent vanish in seconds. The announcer's voice cracked as he struggled to say what everyone feared. The track that promised fame had instead delivered tragedy. A young life ended on American soil where champions are born and broken. His car once roared like a lion. Now it lay silent like a forgotten machine. Ricardo's story became a warning. Ambition burns bright but can turn to fire. Today, his name echoes in silence every time a racer enters Watkins Glen. Peter Revson was more than a driver. He was America's fearless hope in the world of Formula racing. On March 22, 1974, during a testing session in South Africa, he prepared to master a new machine built for impossible speed. He launched down the straight with a calm smile, unaware how close death was to his wheels. The suspension suddenly failed, tearing control away from his hands like a cruel joke. The machine snapped sideways and shot into a metal barrier with horrifying force. The impact crushed the front end, folding the car like paper around his fragile body. Fire erupted immediately, turning the scene into a nightmare of smoke and flames. Marshals ran forward, battling the blaze with shaking hands and desperate hearts. Peter remained trapped inside, with no escape from the inferno closing in. Every second of delay felt like a lifetime fading into ashes. He lost his final race not on a roaring Sunday, but in a lonely test few ever saw. The team stood helpless, unable to save the man who once outran fear itself. Fire trucks arrived too late to fight what destiny had already finished. Peter's remarkable career was reduced to smoke, drifting into a dark sky. The racing world mourned the loss of an American hero taken away without warning. His name remained carved into motorsport history, carved by fire and courage. Every driver who straps into a car knows his tragic story still burns in the asphalt. Peter Revson's legacy reminds us that the fastest dreams carry the highest price. Swede Savage was a bold and fearless American racer who treated danger like an old friend. On May 30th, 1973, he roared into the Indianapolis 500 with a car built for pure speed. He pushed harder every lap, chasing glory with a heart that refused to slow down. The car hit a patch of instability, a moment so small yet so deadly. In a heartbeat, the machine snapped sideways and lost control completely. The vehicle smashed into the inside wall with a catastrophic crash that echoed across the track. The impact unleashed a massive explosion of fire and shattered parts. Marshals froze for a second that felt like forever, unsure if anyone could survive that blast. Swede lay trapped inside a burning wreck, surrounded by chaos he never asked for. They rushed forward, desperate to save a man who still had everything ahead of him. The fire was relentless, hungry for every piece of metal and every breath of life. By the time they pulled him free, the damage had already gone too deep. His injuries were brutal, haunting even the toughest hearts in the paddock. Days passed in a hospital room where hope flickered like a dying candle. Swede Savage took his final breath far from the cheering crowd he once thrilled. The motor world struggled to accept that talent could vanish in one violent second. Fans still remember the explosion that stole a young driver who chased dreams too fast for fate to catch. His tragedy became a grim reminder that even the bravest drivers are not fireproof. Scott Brayton was living his dream as a top American qualifier, a hero to fans who loved his fearless speed. On May 17, 1996, he returned to the track for a simple practice run, calm and confident. The day looked easy, but racing never shows danger until it's too late. Scott pushed the throttle, chasing perfection even when he already owned first place. Suddenly, the right rear tire exploded, ripping control away in a violent instant. The vehicle spun like a hurricane, headed straight toward the outside wall. The impact hit at deadly speed, crushing metal as if it were paper. The audience gasped, realizing a champion had fallen in silence. Marshall sprinted to the wreck, praying he could somehow still move. His body lay still inside the twisted chassis, a chilling quiet replacing roaring engines. Scott had already left the race forever. The moment the tire burst betrayed him, dreams of another Indy 500 victory vanished in the blink of an eye. Teammates stood frozen, their hearts sinking beneath the noise of sirens. Fans struggled to believe speed could steal life faster than applause could rise. The track that gave him glory now kept a piece of his soul. His name remained at the top of the qualifying board, a reminder of his final triumph. Scott Brayton died doing what he loved most, even if fate turned victory into tragedy. Indianapolis still whispers his story every May, whenever engines scream to life again. Jules Bianchi was one of the brightest young talents in Formula One, a future Ferrari star in the making. On October 5, 2014, at the Japanese Grand Prix, heavy rain covered the Suzuka circuit. Visibility was low, and drivers were struggling to control their cars. A crash had already happened moments earlier. A recovery crane was working near the track to lift a damaged car. Bianchi approached the same corner at high speed. His car lost grip, aquaplaned, and slid off the track toward the crane. The car violently hit the crane, causing catastrophic head trauma. The impact forces were unbelievable. He was rushed to the hospital in a critical condition, fighting for his life for 9 long months. On July 17, 2015, Jules Bianchi passed away at the age of 25. The motorsport world was devastated. His death led to major safety changes, including the introduction of the halo. He protected future drivers with his legacy. Riccardo Paletti was only 23 years old when he lined up for the 1982 Canadian Grand Prix, desperate to finally finish a race. When the lights were set to go out, the pole sitter stalled unexpectedly at the very front of the grid. The pack launched instantly, but Paletti could not see the disaster waiting just ahead of him. In a terrifying instant, his car smashed into the back of the stalled machine at nearly full speed. The nose of his car crumpled inward, trapping him inside the destroyed cockpit. Flames suddenly erupted from the front of his wreck, turning panic into horror. Rescuers fought desperately to pull him out, but the damage had already taken his life. Jochen Rindt arrived at Monza leading the championship, racing faster than ever as he chased greatness. During practice, his brakes failed at terrifying speed on the long, straight into the parabolica. With no control left, the Lotus smashed sideways into the guardrail with brutal force. The harness system slipped, and he was thrown into the steel like a rag doll. Monza fell silent as fans realized their future champion would never race again. Rindt still won the title later that year, becoming Formula One's only posthumous world champion.